Imagine your phone rings right this second. You answer, but the only thing on the other end is silence. A silence so heavy it feels intentional, almost like a warning. Most of us would hang up. A spam call, a pocket dial, just a momentary annoyance. But what if it wasn't? In the quiet, forgotten town of Oakhaven, that warning became a terrifying reality. It started with one person, then another, and then another. 3 residents, with seemingly nothing in common, all received the same mysterious call. And one by one, they vanished, and the first to go. It begins with a man named Liam Miller. If you were to imagine the most ordinary man in the most ordinary town, you'd be picturing Liam. He was 68, a retired librarian whose greatest adventures were found within the pages of a book. His life was a quiet routine: morning coffee, his garden, and walking his golden retriever, Buster. Everyone in Oakhaven knew him as gentle, kind, and completely predictable, which is why what happened on the night of October the 12th was so unnerving. Just after midnight, Liam's landline rang. A neighbor, a known night owl, later told police she saw the light in his study click on. He must have been startled awake. Who would call at that hour? According to the minimal data the phone company could recover, the call lasted exactly 45 seconds. On the other end, no voice, just dead, oppressive air. Then, right before the line went dead, a single distorted sound. Something the police report vaguely called a faint, metallic whisper. The next morning, Liam Miller was gone. There was no sign of a struggle. The front door was locked from the inside. His wallet and keys sat on the kitchen counter, and Buster was whining in the hallway. The only things out of place were a cold mug of tea on his nightstand and the telephone receiver, which wasn't sitting quite right in its cradle. It was as if he'd simply evaporated. In a town where the biggest crime was kids toilet papering the mayor's house, this was unthinkable. Police called it a missing person case, but everyone felt a deeper, colder dread. People like Liam Miller don't just walk away. The pattern. For 3 weeks, Oakhaven held its breath. Theories flew around the local diner. Did Liam wander off? Was it an accident? But no one could shake the chilling detail of the midnight phone call. It was becoming an urban legend. And then it happened again. Sarah Jenkins was everything Liam Miller was not. At 24, she was a barista, saving up to move to the city. She was vibrant, outgoing, and lived her life online. On the night of November 5th, her friends saw her post a picture of her cat around 11:50 p.m. 11 minutes later, at 12:01 a.m., her cell phone lit up with an unknown number. Her roommate heard Sarah pick up. She heard her say, "Hello? Who is this?" Followed by a long, dead silence. Then a sharp gasp. When the roommate checked on her minutes later, Sarah's room was empty. Her window was wide open, her phone lying on the bed, screen dark. She was gone. Now Oakhaven was terrified. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a pattern. One call, the same time of night, then nothing. The local police were out of their depth, so state investigators were called in. And that's when I decided to drive to Oakhaven. I'm an independent journalist who grew up one town over. I've covered strange stories before, but this one felt different. The fear in that town was so thick you could taste it. It was about more than 2 missing people. It was about the question hanging in the air like fog. Who's next? The answer came just 1 week later. David Chen, a 45-year-old high school history teacher, husband and father of 2. He actually called 911 right after his phone rang at 12:02 a.m. His voice trembled as he told the dispatcher about the strange, silent call. He said he heard a whisper, something that sounded like a name. By the time a patrol car arrived 10 minutes later, the front door of his house was hanging open. His family was still asleep upstairs, and David was nowhere to be found. Digging up ghosts, the official investigation hit a brick wall. The calls were untraceable, routed through a web of dead-end digital relays. There was zero forensic evidence at any of the scenes. No fingerprints, no footprints, no DNA. It was the perfect crime, committed 3 times. And the victims? A retiree, a barista, a teacher. They had no apparent connection. Different ages, different social circles, different lives. What was the thread tying them together? I spent weeks digging, chasing down one dead end after another. I built profiles of Liam, Sarah, and David. Everyone described them as good people. No known enemies, no dark secrets. I cross-referenced everything I could find. Work histories, property records, social media, nothing. It was like staring at 3 separate puzzles. The breakthrough came from the last place I expected, the dusty basement archives of the Oak Haven County Courthouse. Frustrated and out of leads, I started searching for any public record, no matter how obscure, that might contain all 3 of their names. I spent days with old tax ledgers and forgotten municipal records. And then I found it. A single sheet of paper, yellowed with age, dated 20 years ago. It was a jury selection list for a criminal trial. The State versus Julian Croft. My hands were shaking as I scanned the names of the 12 jurors. Juror number 2, Liam Miller. Juror number 7, David Chen. And Juror 9, Sarah's mother, who was Sarah's legal guardian at the time and had brought her infant daughter to the courthouse that day. But the list held one more shock, one that made my blood run cold. Juror 11 was a name I knew instantly, my own father. Suddenly, it all snapped into a terrifyingly clear picture. This wasn't random. It was a hit list. A quick search revealed the story of Julian Croft. He was convicted of a brutal crime based almost entirely on a single witness. As he was led away, he had screamed his innocence, telling the jury they had sentenced an innocent man. He swore he'd get revenge. Croft died in prison a year ago, but the court records showed he had a son. A son whose public records seemed to vanish right after his father's death. This was a vendetta playing out 2 decades later. A ghost from the past, hunting down the 12 people he blamed for his father's life. Liam, David, and Sarah's mum. They were just the first names on the list. But who was this person? And who was next? I raced back to my motel room and pinned the jury list to the wall. 3 gone. That left 9. 9 people in mortal danger who had no idea. My father. Was he safe? My heart pounded as I grabbed my phone to call him, but my finger hovered over the screen. A chilling thought froze me. What if the caller knows I've figured it out? What if he's watching me? My investigation had turned me from an observer into a target. I looked at the names again, trying to get inside the killer's head. Was there a pattern to the order? My eyes landed on juror number 4, a woman named Elena Vance. According to the records, she still lived just a few blocks from where I was staying. I had to warn her. I threw on my jacket, my mind racing. Should I call the cops? What would I tell them? That my wild theory based on a 20-year-old jury list meant a woman was about to be abducted? They'd think I was crazy. I had to go myself. As my hand closed around the doorknob, my phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up the dark room, casting a glow on my wall of evidence. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't even need to look. Unknown number. It rang once, then twice. A lifetime passed between each ring. Is this it? Is it my turn? Is the call for me because of my father? Or is it a warning, a taunt, letting me know he sees me? Then the ringing stopped. A notification popped up. One new voicemail. For a long moment, I stared at it, frozen. Then, with a sense of terrifying finality, I played the message. There was no sound at first, just that same heavy silence that had swallowed 3 people. And then a noise began to emerge from the static, a distorted, metallic whisper. It spoke just 2 words. Found you. 3 people have disappeared from Oak Haven. A quiet librarian, a young barista, a dedicated teacher. The only link between them is a 20-year-old court case and the jury that's sent a man to prison. Now, a silent caller is stalking those jurors, or their families one by one, exacting a patient and terrifying revenge. The questions left hanging in the cold night air are overwhelming. Who is this phantom caller? Is it Julian Croft's son, finishing what his father started? How many more names are on his list? And now that he knows I'm onto him, am I the next victim? The trail hasn't gone cold. It has led directly to my own door, leaving a mystery that is far from over. What do you think the caller's real motive is? And what would you do if you got that call? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you want to follow more deep dives into the unknown, make sure to subscribe. Every story has a beginning, but some never really have an end.